So today I'm going to be showing you guys a primary weapon that I've wanted to show off for quite a while, and that is the Variable. Now, I think this thing is really cool. It is definitely one of the more interesting and inspired primary weapons we have, but it does have some pretty big flaws, which we will get into. However, on the squids, this thing has insane utility with the total mode, which is where it fires every single round that's in the tube at the same time. It's extremely good against flesh mobs, and it is the only primary that can one-tap harvesters. And you heard that right. If you hit them in the eye with a variable, it one-taps them. Which is kind of a crazy thing for a primary to do, until you look at the rest of the primary. And you can't see the ergonomic stats here, but the ergonomics are 25. I think they're like 30 base, but you can't take off the scope anyway, so it doesn't matter. The reload speed is terrible, the modes are kind of finicky to switch between, and even though the entire reason, or the inspiration behind this weapon was a real prototype, I forget, I think it's called Metal Storm or something like that, which was penetrating armor using a lot of bullets hitting the same spot at the same time. This thing has no extra penetration on the different modes. I really do think it should get at least medium penetration, if not heavy penetration on total, but that's just me. As it is now, it's very useful only in this specific niche in my opinion, and kind of strange in other areas, and I'll talk more about it as we use it. So there's two schools of thought in my opinion for this weapon, and that is either a reinforce speed armor passive or peak physique. Personally, since I'm not going to be using this really as my primary, it's mostly going to be a utility tool against flesh mobs and harvesters. Peak physique, I'm not going to need to hit as many snapshots as usual. I'm not going to shoot flying overseers with it or snitches. I much rather have the reload speed, because this thing has an insanely slow reload, and if you use it on total mode, you really need to reload a lot of the time. It'll be a bit harder to hit some of those tricky shots on the harvester eyes, but I do think this is the right decision for the way I'm going to use it. I am going to be pairing it with the Stalwart, because honestly, this is kind of a, and this is going to sound crazy, kind of an Eruptor side grade. Maybe not side grade, I think it is worse than the Eruptor, but it fills a similar niche as the Eruptor on the squids. Now, of course, it doesn't have any demo force, so it's not exactly the same, but it is a primary that is mostly useful against flesh mobs and harvesters. So it needs something to deal with everything else, and that is where the Stalwart comes in. The Stalwart is really good against the squids because it just shits out light damage. It will mow down hordes of voteless. It'll do really good against overseers if you can hit them in the same limb, which is a little easier said than done. But in general, it's very powerful and very flexible. I'm going to be using the Arc Dog backpack because this is my favorite guard dog backpack on the squids. I could be using a mobility tool, but I don't think it's super important. And I tried this with a supply pack, and honestly, as long as you save all your variable shots for the big heavy targets, I didn't really need the supply pack. I would rather have something to help me do the mission a little bit faster, and that's why I'm bringing the guard dog. I'm going to be bringing the 500 kg because I don't really have a great way of taking out landed ships by myself, so I'm going to use this in lieu of that, and it's also just good in general against the squids, one of the more reliable red stratagems. And the machine gun sentry, because it's got a great cooldown, it does a lot of damage, it has a pretty low risk of friendly fire, it's just a very solid, reliable sentry against a lot of different targets. Now for my secondary, I know I've been addicted to the warrant recently, but in this case I have a very good reason to take the Talon out instead, and that is to deal with stingrays. Now this thing is not great at dealing with stingrays. It does take 2 swoops about minimum, but I think it is the best sidearm to deal with them currently, and I have no other sources of medium pen. I really do not like the medium machine gun in this build. It's just too slow, stationary reload, and bad ergonomics compared to the Stalwart made it a lot less fun. So I'm going to be using my medium pen, or I'm going to take medium pen here. Even if it's not probably the best slot for it, the Talon is still very good, especially at sniping snitches as well. This is a very good sidearm still, even if the warrant is a bit more comfortable to use now. And finally, gas grenades, no brainer on the squids. great crowd control, deals with Voteless, the only thing that can stop flesh mobs from running you down as hard, and it even crowd controls overseers sometimes if you're lucky. But anyway, oh yes, and Vitality Enhancement. I take this all the time against squids. I think it really helps survive against them. But anyway, I think that's it for the build. I don't think I missed anything, so I will see you guys in the mission. So I made a couple changes to the build, really minor ones, but the Arc Dog team killed me twice, which makes it a total of 3 times it has team killed myself. When I was using it, it seemed killed me a lot more than that when other people were using it. But I don't know, it just wasn't working today. So I've switched to the regular Gun Dog, because I think he's also really good against the squids. Particularly in dealing with overseers, both flying and grounded. But also Voteless in general, he's not bad. And I've also switched to the Orbital Gatling Barrage, because the Orbital Gatling Barrage is capable of taking out Arc Towers, which I had a really annoying time taking out with just the gas grenade, even though it can do it. Sometimes it just refuses to explode in the right spot, and it's a whole thing. So, these changes are pretty minor, and I don't think they touch the core of the build. Which really is just the Stalwart variable pairing, which I think is very fun and powerful. You see, the Stalwart just shreds groups like that, and when we run into flesh mobs and harvesters, I will be able to show off how good it is against them. These two are really a good pairing, and it seems like a lot of light pen, which is true. It is a lot of light pen, but at the same time, I do not think the variable should be light pen across the board. I really do wish the medium mode or the volley mode had medium pen, and fingers crossed total would have heavy pen, though that might be too strong, I don't know. But I feel like a really terrible ergonomic primary just cannot have terrible ergonomics. Like, those two just are a combo made in hell. It's just not fun to use a weapon like that 90% of the time. And if it did not have this utility against these two enemies, I would literally never bring it. Even though it's a really cool weapon, and I love creative designs like this, I honestly wish we had more weird, wacky weapons like this, even if they weren't necessarily the best, compared to, you know, just yet another assault rifle, but this one does 5 more damage and is medium pen, or 5 less damage and has stun, or whatever. I'm not a huge fan of assault rifles. I think they're kind of boring. Typically. Though some are fun. I do like the Coyote quite a bit, and the Tenderizer is pretty good as well. Specifically against the squids, actually. I have that in my notes that I want to make a Tenderizer video against this faction, but there's a lot of builds I do want to show off. It's hard to find the time to film, edit, and post them all. And I'll get there eventually. Okay, so if we do this loop, this mission should go by pretty smoothly, ideally. But I would like to snipe you. And the Stalwart is actually really good at sniping snitches that are at longer ranges and not moving too erratically. Because it does shit out a lot of bullets, but the ergonomics are not the best on this thing. And the scope also sucks ass. But the scope sucks ass on the Talon. I only have bad scopes today. I should have put on a better scope on the variable, just to have an easier time hitting harvester eyes, because I was actually having trouble with that in the first attempt. Even though I did not have nearly as much trouble in the testing run I did. But that's usually how it goes. When I'm talking, I'm more distracted and I play worse than I do when I'm just testing out the build. Please get in there. Oh, I already threw one. I didn't realize. I thought I pressed G and nothing happened, but I guess I did throw one. Okay. And the ideal way of dealing with a flesh mob with the variable is hit them with a total and then finish them off with whatever else you have, and they go down blisteringly fast. Even faster now that their heads are a pseudo weak point. I don't think their heads are a great weak point still, but it's better than it was before. I still do wish that flesh mob legs actually slowed them down when you took them out, because, you know, that would be a real weak point, and there would be decision making involved in fighting that enemy, which would be cool, instead of just shoot center mass more or less and hope for the best. Okay, and now this is the hard part, and I was dealing with these guys. Hopefully I got enough shots into him that I can get him on the second swoop. I'm gonna gas. Actually, I'm gonna not gas because I do not have any. Ooh, that was a little risky. So you're moving weird, and the ground is not even. So I'm gonna completely spaghetti this. Yeah, I'm not gonna hit that in a million years. I need to get into a better position and need to start freaking out a little less. I think I just shot my guard dog like 3 times while I was trying to get into my backpack instead of the stingray, which is unfortunate because I think those shots might have been what I needed to finish him off. That was confirm or deny. No, I needed a couple more than that. Oh, do not zap me. Okay, that's fine. I dove at the last second. And then bam, just like that. It is a really precise shot, so it's not something you can do 1000% reliably when you are under pressure, and you know, it's the squids, you're very often under pressure. That is the entire design ideology of the faction, I feel like, is to put you under a lot of pressure all the time. Which is why people probably don't like it, don't like this faction, even though I do. I think they're pretty fun. I like them better than the bugs, but I'm a massive bug hater. But that's probably because I play primarily solos. I still do randoms every so often, but primarily solos nowadays. And the bugs absolutely despise solo players. It is the hardest faction to solo by far. Okay. So this is outpost kind of connected to... No, that's not connected. That's just a giant fucking objective. Okay, and when he stands still like that, it is piss easy in close ranges to get him. And that makes it look really powerful. But again, I do have to issue the caveat that you saw earlier. That is probably going to be more your average experience. Okay, you're perfectly dodging, so I cannot hit you in both at the same time in the same leg. Yeah, I think you're outside the wall, inside the wall, somewhere I can't get you, which is the exact opposite of what I want. But he's gonna do some bullshit. He's gonna fly like above a wall. Yeah, see, I knew it. And I was not locked in, so I did not hit him. But fuck those guys. No, I kind of do like the idea of an enemy that like uses verticality to get around you. I think that would be cool if it was designed around that, but I feel like snitches and flying overseers do that in spite of their coding, and it's a bug, so it feels really janky when they fly up into the air. So I'm going to double dip on stratagems and just really make that place unpleasant to be. The Gatling is a pretty good, actually against every faction. There's not a faction that thinks bad against, but it's pretty good against the squids particularly because, okay, no way I'm gonna hit that. I really should have installed a better scope, at least the 2 times. Maybe the 4 times would have been too hard an ergonomics hit, but this 1.5 is not cutting it. Okay, and there we go. Oh, but there's another one here immediately, which is not what I wanted to see. Actually, that's not bad, as long as you don't move around too weird. Okay, you moved around too weird. No. When you're too close, it's hard to like get high enough of an angle to actually prone and hit them in the eye. Okay, that was ergonomics. Do not hit me with the cart. No, I'm really struggling right now. What the hell? Okay, maybe I can just finish him off. No, I shouldn't be stupid. He went down somehow eventually, so you know I'll count it. Yeah, but it's definitely not perfect. I don't know, but I also think the Eruptor is definitely not the best against Harvesters anyway, because you know their primary weapons, they're not really rated for that kind of enemy. But it is nice that both of them can handle it if necessary. I would like it if the gas grenade handled these Vaultless a bit better than it is right now. And I'm hoping that Gatling takes out the landed ships, because I think if enough shots hit, it can do that, even if it is not 100% reliable. I'm hoping that I can get it to happen. It seems like it did not. So it's been very difficult to actually get orbital stratagems to do what you want them to do now. Ever since Super Earth, where they moved the positions of super destroyers, they're just not that reliable anymore. And it's kind of a shame that they've never gone back and changed that. Or at least made that mode like Super or Mega City exclusive. Because for those of you who do not know, the super destroyers used to just hover like at the top of the map instead of the sides. So the angle the shots came in was always like kind of determined by just, or what I'm trying to say is that it was a lot less determined by where you are on the map. So it was a lot more reliable to actually get it to do what you want to do. Okay, there's way too much dust right now. Because it's these buildings, when they're destroyed, they create a shitload of dust. Which makes it hard to see, even on planets that have great visibility, like the moon biome. I went a little too far and spent a mag, but that's actually not that big a deal. The reload rate is slow on the Talon, but if you can do the reload, it's not that big a deal. It's only when you really need that last shot and you cannot get it off because you're a little overzealous that it is a problem. But I don't know, maybe I'm thinking now that peak physique would have served me better. It would have served me better against harvesters, but worse against flesh mobs. So it's kind of a strange trade-off to make. I don't know. I feel like whichever I would have taken, I would have been unhappy that I didn't take the other one, unfortunately. Because this gun really does need both in order to feel good to use. Because the reload is really slow, and the ergonomics are really slow, and there is no peak physique siege ready perk, even though that would be fucking insane. And I would never take it off, and that's probably why they haven't added that. But unfortunately, I wish they added that just for this gun. Or tweak some values on it. I don't know, the entire... what's it called? Control Group Warbond had so many cool ideas, and they kind of fumbled most of them. The Epoch was kind of fumbled. Well, the Epoch was super fumbled at launch when it couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. The Laser Sentry is still just undeniably the worst sentry. The Arc Grenade is still not very good because it's too unreliable and doesn't really do anything that other grenades don't do better. The Ward Pack is crazy. It's excellent. That by itself makes the entire Warbond worth it. But I don't know. I do wish they would take another pass and fix up the weapons a little bit more. I still think the Epoch needs 4 rounds per mag. The Laser Sentry needs to just not be shit, not be absolute dog shit. And the Variable needs better ergonomics. Oh, and the Armor passive, I totally forgot. The Armor passive is also kind of terrible. Because it's just not very fun to use, in my opinion. It like kind of makes every death a little more embarrassing, if that makes sense. Because it just drags out the process, and 9 times out of 10, you can't really do anything with those extra couple seconds. You just get ragdolled around or chewed up by bugs just for a little longer to make sure, you know, to rub salt in the wound of having lost that reinforcement. Yeah, you were ready with that grenade. So now this is the easiest flag layout by far. All of them are pretty easy except the pit variant. That the pit is a little scary because that one not only has landed ships to cover it, but it also is just a really tough position to fight in because you're on awful low ground with bad choke points. That one is actually kind of hard sometimes, but this one, the squids barely figure out how to use the stairs. And even if they do, you can just hang out up here if the boxes haven't been blown up by a teammate, which, you know, easier said than done. Because you can't climb on this anymore, and that was a horrible change. Especially considering if you go into options and like gameplay or something, somewhere in there, you can turn off auto climb, and then you just control when you climb, and you never climbed on the resupply pod ever again by accident after you did that. So they definitely just removed it to make sure you couldn't climb on stuff intentionally, which is kind of lame, but what can you do? Well, actually, you can take the jump pack or the hover pack. Wow, I'm missing every shot I've ever taken. Holy shit. I gotta say, the code flying enemies have in this game to dodge attacks is kind of nuts. It makes them feel real jank to fight sometimes, but I've never seen an enemy be that good at dodging attacks in any game ever. Dodging bullets at the very least. Just mulch the boatless. I mean, they can't do anything while I'm up here anyway. Somebody's shooting me. You are. And if you see red hit markers, that means you have broken through their ablated plating and are now hitting the meat shots, which is the only thing that actually does damage to overseers. If you keep hitting different limbs, you hit their armor, and that doesn't actually bring you any closer to killing them. Well, it does bring you closer to killing them, but it doesn't actually damage their main health pool, which is what you want to do. Yeah, let's clear a little bit here. Uh-oh, that's bad. Uh-oh. Please, you were gas. That was a suspiciously convenient time to start swinging your staff. But you know what? I'll allow it. Do not take the expendable anti-tank. Even if I don't think the expendable anti-tank is actually that bad against squids, because it does pretty good against flesh mobs. It might do better against flesh mobs now. I should test it again, because they did change their main health. Because it used to be you could take the expendable anti-tank and it would just you would shoot it with the expendable anti-tank, and then you would tap it with something else, kind of like what I'm doing with the variable, and the flesh mob would just die. And that felt pretty decent if you really wanted to bring an expendable weapon, which I do sometimes. I really like expendable weapons. I think it's a very fun play style. But it probably is just better to take expendable napalm against the squids. I still need to like wrap my head around that one. I feel the potential when I use it, but I never get any good use out of it. I don't know if that's just a massive skill issue, or it is just a weird stratagem kind of. But I don't know. I've never used it and been like, wow, that was the best thing I could have done with that stratagem slot. It kind of just feels like a more awkward orbital napalm, in the same way that the solo silo feels like a more awkward 500 kg bomb. So hopefully that normal, not awkward 500 kg bomb deals with that landed ship. Yeah, I'm out of stamina, so I was a little scary, but... And honestly, you can really afford to not bring a good anti-stingray option a lot of the time. Because, at least in solos, I've never seen more than one at the same time. And as long as you are aware of where they are, they're probably not going to get you. They can get you with a cheap kill sometimes, don't get me wrong. But typically you are rather safe from them. Okay, I wanted to redeem myself against this harvester, but there is all too many footless ambulating about. Maybe if I get this high ground. I also don't have any more gas grenades, and my frame rate is kind of going to shit right now, and I assume that's because of the asteroids kicking up a lot of lovely, lovely volumetric fog from these buildings. That was not the smoothest snitch kill, but you know, Arrowhead didn't give me 250 rounds per mag to hit them all. There's room for margin of error in there. Man, I cannot wait for the day there's secondary and support weapon customization, because holy shit. Some of these weapons are just held back by the fact that you cannot put an angled grip and a really good, or a usable scope on them. And when that happens, overnight they'll get better. Like, if I could put, well, I guess now the Senator has drag, so it would still not be great at ranges, but if I could put, like, a 4x scope on that thing, or, you know, even a 4x scope on this thing, just a 4x scope on everything. I love the 4x scope. It is so nice to use. And I probably should have put it on the variable, but I don't know. I don't like bad ergonomics. Now, please grab the Stalwart. I do not want another eat at this present moment. Okay, thank you for emoting instead of doing anything dangerous to my person. Oh, this is the fake SAM site. Yeah, they have random ass SAM sites in this evac, and I do not know why. You can't activate them, can't do anything with them, they're just there. They probably just reuse the model wholesale without actually taking the SAM site out, or the SAM missile launcher component out of the box. It's probably in there. I'm sure a savvy hacker could probably get some way to activate these. Probably wouldn't even be that hard. But I am not one of those. Even though I have encountered, actually very seldom, one of the hackers I did encounter actually is the reason why my variable has Venus camo, because I have not used this thing enough to get it to level 25. I was in a lobby with, I assume it was a hacker, or maybe the game just bugged out and gave me a shitload of XP. I was already max level, so it like didn't even do anything except max out the variable. But I think it looks good with the Venus color scheme. Any like science fiction-esque weapon or energy weapon looks very nice with that color scheme, in my opinion. It looks weird on like more military, modern military style guns, like the Liberator, or any like rifle or marksman rifle. But on science fiction weapons, I think it's pretty cool. So maybe it's stolen valor to have that cam on the variable without having earned it. But also, who gives a shit? I don't know. I probably could have gotten that reverse, but honestly, I don't really care enough. I'm not a grind-motivated individual. Unlocks don't get me to want to play the game more. It's, am I having fun or am I not having fun? And it's that simple. And with the variable, sometimes I have fun. On the squids, I have fun, but I don't like this thing on the other factions, even if it does have some niche applications that aren't bad. Too many drawbacks for my taste. Ah, man, I got overzealous. It probably could hit him from that far away, but that would be a tough shot to say the least. Uh-oh. Just a quick screenshot. I don't think they'll make a good thumbnail. I didn't catch it at the proper time. And also, at the same time, it doesn't show off the thing I am using, and I like to do that with my thumbnails. I don't want to have just like a generic thumbnail that has nothing to do with when I'm doing that mission. I feel like that's kind of, I don't know, kind of boring and just not representative of what I want to show. But I'm really rambling here. This mission was not hard at all, even though I kind of spaghettied a lot of the shots on Harvester Eyes. The ones I hit at least show it is possible and good if you're locked in. But honestly, I'd recommend running this with peak physique first before trying to run this with Siege Ready or Reinforced FLS or whatever, because it is really hard to get used to these ergonomics. At least for me, I'm somebody who really likes my ergonomics, and having terrible ergonomics is just not it. But you can do a quick jump with this, which is pretty fun. If that got me killed and that was my only death of the mission, that'd be really funny, but I think I'm okay. He hit the guard dog on my back. Now that is just rude. I guess I can show off the other modes right at the end. The auto mode is kind of just, it's just a Liberator, more or less. It might do a little less damage than a Liberator now. And the volley mode is kind of a shotgun, but bad without any stagger. It does a lot of damage, but the fact that it doesn't stagger and isn't super reactive, and is also horribly ammo inefficient, is just not it. So in this gun you have a worse Liberator, a worse Punisher, and then something completely unique is the best way I could put it. But anyway, that is it for the video and the build. I don't really have anything to say. I think that was pretty self-explanatory. The variable on total is excellent against flesh mobs all the time, and it is excellent against harvesters if you can hit the eye. It's kind of a tough shot, and maybe it's easier with peak physique. I mean, it definitely is easier with peak physique, but I'm not sure I would recommend it. Oh, I missed a side objective. That's fine. Maybe I would recommend trying this with peak physique and seeing how it feels, and then seeing how it feels without it. I don't know. Up to you guys. I think neither is a particularly wrong choice. But the Stalwart is excellent as well. Really, really good support weapon against the squids, and it's only gotten better now that all Overseers are more vulnerable to light pen damage. Since their flesh is no longer light armored, it's unarmored now after you actually strip their ablative plating. And flying Overseers are generally squishier, as well as having light armor heads. I kind of wish they did that treatment to the artillery Overseer. It still feels like the melee Overseer should be the only one that's like tanky and well armored, and all the other ones should be less armored. But besides the point, both of these stratagems, or both of these weapons, are really good, and they pair together very nicely. So if you're sick of running Stalwart Eruptor and want to try something new, Stalwart Variable is a pretty good alternative. And it feels up, I don't want to say about the same, because they're very different weapons, but they kind of fill similar niches in their own builds. But anyway, that is it. I'm going to cut myself off before I keep rambling. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you all in the next one.